Okay. Welcome, Drink with James, episode 42, coming at you live from annoyingly cold New York City. As I said in the last episode, we have whiskey, this time from Paula. An influencer sent this to me. This is a lesson for all of you. I'm not above saying that if you send me a bottle of whiskey, I'll probably mention your name on the show. So thank you, Paula. Tim, throw up her Instagram account here. She makes very lovely content. I met her at the Southern Sea Conference and she sent that along. And we're drinking it today and it is fantastic. You know, I was walking to work this morning. It's 20 degrees in New York. I kind of like, my boots that I have are like right at the end of their life on their sole. So like you can start to feel the cold through the soles of your shoes. I need to get them resoled, I know. But I'm walking to work and I was reminded of that Camus quote from, God, I can't remember the book, but it's from The Stranger, I think. That in the depths of winter, I found that within me lay an invincible summer. I think it's important to remember that in these times, that inside of us, there is a summer. It will be warm again. New York, LA, you guys can just fucking die. But we've got another 2 weeks of cold. And then we'll be, you know, we'll bring our milky white legs out into the world and hopefully start to get some sun on ourselves. Hopefully you guys watched the 10 tips to slay your next influencer trip video. Tim will put a link here. Totally different than what we've done. Amazingly kept under 2 minutes, which if you watch any of these videos and I ramble on for 20 minutes, is a feat in itself, an editing feat. I talked for a long time, but Tim just edited it down. But check it out. I think it's a series that we potentially will do as a series less often, but tips for slaying a photo shoot, influencer trip we obviously did, sponsored post, whatever it might be. If you like that video, comment, let us know, and we'll do more of those. Right, so it's 3 o'clock on a Thursday. We had to do Drink with James early today because we are helping Equinox launch a new gym here in New York, and I have to go to a workout class tonight. So I have to get drunk, and then I have to let that buzz peter off before I get my ass kicked for an hour at Equinox this afternoon, or this evening. So it is in my best interest to get this going. So let's do it. One, yes, there was a drop of engagement when the algorithms changed things around. I don't know that it was a drop in engagement other than the fact that influencers needed to learn a new way to post. I think that I have seen influencers' engagement drop, and then I've seen them try new things, and I've seen it go back up. So I think you really need to pay attention to the best times to post, which you have on your Fohr card. If you do your Fohr card profile /Instagram, you can see the best times of day to post. I think you just have to tighten up and get a little bit smarter, maybe post less. I don't know what it is, but you need to experiment. You can get that engagement back up, but it is a little more difficult. The other thing is every single day, it gets harder to hold people's attention, We were just looking at some data with the developers here, and they actually said, I was the 1100th person in the world to sign up for Instagram, which must mean I downloaded it the day it and signed up the day it came out, because I think they got 40,000 signups in the first day. So there are now hundreds of millions of people on Instagram, and every day more and more talented people join Instagram and are growing their following. So every single day it gets harder and harder and harder to hold people's attention, and you need to get better and better and better and better. I just saw an influencer recently, make a big investment in a new camera, and their engagement has gone up. I think you just have to keep getting more and more professional as it gets harder and harder, and the things that worked a year ago aren't going to work today, and the things that work today aren't going to work in a year from now. So you got to keep evolving and keep growing. Gifting campaigns are essentially an open tryout. That's the way I see them, right? We run a decent amount of gifting campaigns at Fohr Card. Maybe some of you have been involved in some. Maybe some of you have had someone on the staff reach out to be involved in them. Generally, they involve influencers with a smaller following, less than 100,000, and there isn't compensation involved. Brands kind of look at these things, again, as a tryout. You send product out to 50 influencers. You kind of get a nice sense of like what kind of content they produce. Does it align? Does it perform well? Does their audience react well to it? Does it get the traction that they expected? And I think, again, it's important to remember as a smaller influencer, you really want to focus on growth and relationships more than money. If you have 20,000 followers, maybe an Instagram post is worth $150 to $300 tops. Is it worth $300 to, like, would you rather the $300 or have a relationship with a great brand? You know, and you have to remember that these brands, they all talk to each other as well. So if you do a gifting campaign for one Estee Lauder company and you do an amazing job and you over-deliver and you're great, and then that person is having lunch with someone else and they say, oh, I'm looking for, you know, up-and-coming influencers to work with. And they say, oh, I just worked with this person who was incredible. You need to work with them. This is how the world generally works. Fohr, you know, our clients, a lot of our business are referrals because we did a really great job with our other clients. So you have to think about your work in terms of that as well. I'm not saying you shouldn't try and get paid. I'm saying if you are part of a gifting campaign, the expectation is that there will be no money. So asking for money and getting paid $100 for a gifting campaign, I think personally, when you're on the up and up, is less important than getting that brand relationship and trying to turn it into something else down the line. So, you know, I was just talking to an influencer today. He came into the office. He's got 11,500 followers, and he's like, I'm switching to just doing paid work. And my advice was, I think that's a terrible idea. A lot of my best brand relationships started with unpaid work. And I get that people are out there and you're trying to make a living. But look, 3 years ago, Fohr was in an apartment. You know, we had 4 people working in an apartment. It was organic, consistent growth over years and years and years that has brought us to the position of being able to afford a nice office, having 20 people work for the company. You know, you have to just keep incrementally growing and growing and growing and growing. And a lot of it is building those relationships and validating yourself and proving to the brands that you're worth working for and growing that following. And I think that if you just come at a gifting campaign and you instantly say, I want money, then that's not a great place to work. If, you know, when I encourage you to ask for money for a brand, it's generally when they reach out and they say, hey, we'd love to work with you on a sponsored post. We'd love to have you cover some of our stuff. Then you say, is there budget? If they say, if you have 15,000 followers and an amazing brand reaches out and says, hey, we're doing this gifting campaign, we'd love to get you some product in exchange for a post. In that moment, I don't think asking for money is the right thing to do. And I understand the nuance, right? But there is a difference between being part of a bigger gifting campaign and having a brand reach out and say, we want you to do this project with these set deliverables, and then you can say, is there a budget? So understand that, you know, try and think of sometimes as gifting campaigns, where again, your content is set amongst 20, 30, 40 different bloggers. So if it were me, I would look at it as a competition. And my goal would be not to make $100 in that campaign, but out of those 50 photos, mine would be the best. You know, and the brand would look at all the content that they got and say, I want to work with that person again because they killed it and they over-delivered and the content looks amazing. That's the goal, is impressing them. Okay, so let's say you do that gifting campaign, right? You killed it, you know you killed it. They reach out again, and now it's for more, it feels like they're like, hey, we want you to do this sponsored post. You know they're paying other influencers, but they say they can't pay you. It's tough. You know, some of that is just your gut reaction. You know, I can't tell you when to walk away and when not to walk away and when to work for free and when not to. Again, I can tell you with Tom Brown, I never got paid. I worked for them for 2 years, I never got paid. It was worth it to me to work for free because I enjoyed, I loved the clothes that he made. I loved being associated with the brand, and as a photographer at the time, being Tom Brown's photographer helped me get other opportunities, so I was happy to do it for free. I never even asked them for money. Might have asked for clothes a few times, but never money. So it's a tough, it is more of an art than a science, I think, of when to walk away or when to keep working for someone for free. The other thing to remember, if it's a really big brand and you don't have a big following, the brand people at these large organizations are unbelievably busy. And I think we've talked about that before. And I think it's really important as an influencer to understand. I know y'all are really busy. They're in meetings 8 hours a day. They don't even get to start working until 5 o'clock most days. So it's really difficult for them to really get anything done, which is, where Fohr Card comes in a lot of times is we help execute these things for these large brands. Now, if you have 20,000 followers, that is solid. That is a lot of people. That's bigger than a lot of towns in America. But for a large brand, it just doesn't move the needle. It's not going to make a difference to the bottom line. And when you think about what they're up against, they're launching a fragrance. They need to make sure that fragrance sells $20 million of fragrance in the first 2 months. Your 20,000 followers aren't going to move the needle for them there. And so the time it takes for them to negotiate with you, to come up with pricing, to send you a contract, to follow up on it, probably isn't worth it. And so if they don't want to pay you, it's not that they don't value you necessarily. It's just that the reason they work with really big influencers is they need to move the bottom line. And again, I would stress that, especially if it's not part of a bigger campaign and you're not being looped in under this kind of larger umbrella, you want to work on relationship first when you're growing. I say all the time, if you're under 50,000, I focus on growth and relationships far more than money. And I understand that's a luxury that not everybody has, and you need to make money, you need to get paid, more power to you. But at these big companies, again, understand that if you're talking to someone and the fragrance or makeup and they're owned by L'Oreal or Estee Lauder, there are 20, 30 brands under that roof. And so much better to be someone who's easy to work with, who delivers on time, who's reliable, so that they can, that brand person can evangelize you to all of their colleagues across the group. Long story short, it's a difficult decision, but I don't, as an influencer, I don't think you should get too greedy too early. And just because you can make money in every situation doesn't mean you have to. Again, I was speaking to an influencer today at 10,000 followers, 11,000 followers, and I was like, he was saying that he, only works for paid now. And I said that, let's take a brand and they have 1 million followers and they agree to repost your photo. Buying a sponsored post from someone with 1 million followers would be $10,000 to $15,000. Now, you had a chance to get your photo reposted at a value of $10,000 to $15,000 or make $100. What would you do? For me, that's a no-brainer. If you don't need the money at that moment, try and get them to repost you. There are other ways to get compensated. If a brand wants to have a long-term relationship with you, but they're not ready to pay you yet, don't just write them off and say well, I'm done with you. You're not going to pay me. You're talking about the biggest brands in the world. You're talking about companies that make billions of dollars a year, and they've known you for a month, and you're upset that they're not paying you. I understand that, but again, understand that there's more value in building a relationship often than cashing in on that relationship early. So, that's it. Again, let us know if you like that 10 tips video. Tim and I had a lot of fun shooting it. Tim probably had a little less fun editing it, but it's something we want to do again, but not unless you guys really like it. Keep those questions rolling in. We got some special guests coming up in the next few weeks we're super excited about. As always, we're going to just bring straight fire to y'all's computers, phones, tablets, wherever. I don't know where you're watching this, but thank you and cheers.